Hello, everybody. I apologize for all the confusion on the audio. My name is Nasrin Azari. I'm the president of Mobile Reach. And I think as Larry mentioned, we're an enterprise mobile software company, and we've been providing solutions for IT asset management, mobility within IT asset management, for at least 8 years. So I've got a lot of personal experience and also experience with the company on mobile ITAM solutions, and that's what we're going to speak about today. And so what I'm going to start off with is just a little bit of an introduction in terms of describing what mobile IT asset management is, and when I talk about mobile ITAM, what does that mean? And then talk a little bit about the business case around mobile IT asset management and why you would want to think about incorporating a mobile ITAM component into your IT asset management overall solution. And then specifically some considerations when you do implement a mobile solution, what you should be looking for specifically for IT asset management, and then what does it take to build a successful implementation when you've taken that step of wanting to incorporate mobility. What are sort of the key, I've got some tips for you in terms of how to ensure that the implementation itself ends up being successful for you and your organization. So in terms of what is mobile ITAM, when I talk about that, it's basically mobile users in the field. So IT asset management is rarely done behind a desk, and folks that are performing transactions and actions and tasks associated with your assets are typically in the field. So we talk about tracking those IT asset management activities, tracking progress, understanding what's going on in the environment. If you happen to be mobile, you need access to your asset repository to either input data into the system or to review data that's already in there. And so mobile IT asset management, when I use that term, it refers to the folks in the field that either need access to the asset repository in order to input data into the repository from a mobile, or retrieving information from the system in order to bring up a report or bring up a summary or information that they might need to review while they're out in the field. And so really it's all about the tools that make your mobile IT asset management workers effective and efficient at the jobs that they need to perform. And so here's an example of some of the use cases around mobile ITAM, and what you'll see is that they all involve some sort of person that's not going to be sitting behind a desk. When you're ordering equipment, you typically will be sitting, you could be sitting behind a desk ordering equipment, but when you actually receive that equipment on a loading dock or at a receiving location, you are likely not sitting at your desk. And so ideally what we like to do is equip that mobile receiver, that person that's receiving IT assets at the receiving location, with a barcode scanner or some other mobile device, so that they can actually capture information about that equipment that's being received, associate that, either create an asset record or associate the receipt with a pre-created asset record, put an asset tag on that IT asset and scan it into the record, maybe put in warranty information or that type of stuff, the date that it was received. All of that information that's important that you care about during that receive process can be done at the spot of receiving using a mobile device. And obviously that can't be done if you have to walk back, or if you have to walk back to your office and input the data there in front of your computer. You have to write it down once at the point of action, and then you have to take that information back to your computer and sit down and type it in. And there's a couple problems with that. One, it's inefficient, right? It takes twice as much time to do that. And then secondly, because you've got somebody that's either writing information down on paper, it could be highly error prone, because you've got that human error component of not only having to write information down versus, for example, if you had a barcode scanner, you could scan in a serial number, scan in your asset tag. If you don't, you're going to have to write it down and then go to your desk and actually type it in. So you have that opportunity for errors in two places. One, the point where you actually wrote it down, and secondly, the point where you go key it into the keyboard into your application. So, so mobile processes are are prevalent in IT asset management, and the whole goal around mobile IT asset management is to equip your mobile users with tools that allow them to be more effective while they are mobile when they're actually doing their jobs, which is when they're out in the field. So here's just kind of a picture. What's really important about this picture is the asset repository that's on the right-hand side of the screen there. That's your master golden IT asset management database, and really what you care about is keeping that accurate and up to date. And then the folks on the left, those are all the folks in the field that are performing tasks related to assets that affect information in that database. And so the goal with mobile IT asset management is to provide tools for all those mobile users so that they've got access to get information into that repository, the end goal being to keep that repository as accurate as possible. And you can see here that mobile ITAM solutions can involve communicating via cellular or Wi-Fi. It can also be that folks that are mobile don't always have access to a wireless network. They don't always have access to a cellular connection. They may be working in environments that are secure and locked down and don't allow wireless, or they may just be in an area that doesn't have coverage. And so it's important to allow folks to be able to perform their job in an offline mode as well. So you notice kind of in the third picture there, there's what we call a sync cradle. And what that allows a user to do that's mobile is they can capture information while they're mobile and while they're offline, and then come back into the environment, cradle the device, and sync it up automatically. So they're mobile, they're capturing information on a device, and then the device is automatically synchronizing with the back-end application. And so that kind of serves the purposes of being able to work offline, but also not having to key the information in twice, being able to have as much automatic interaction as possible to remove that element of human error as much as possible. And so there's a wide variety of devices that you can equip your mobile users with. There's the standard barcode scanners. If you look sort of at the bottom in the middle, that Intermec device is a kind of a standard heavy-duty barcode scanner that a lot of folks use with asset management. And the nice thing about it, it's got a really nice barcode scanner integrated into the device. They also make devices that have RFID scanners as well. So those are all very useful and still widely used today. But there's a lot of newer devices that are on the market that are being effectively used for asset management as well. And they tend to be a little bit less expensive. You look at some of the smartphones. On the top right-hand corner there, you'll see a BlackBerry device. And if you're an organization that is all BlackBerry, let's say, and you want to be able to perform your asset management tasks with a BlackBerry, it really is important to have a barcode scanner if you're scanning in serial numbers and asset tags and things like that. So there's a company called Opticon that makes a little barcode scanner that can be connected to that BlackBerry via USB or via Bluetooth connection. And so then you can use your BlackBerries for all your processing, and you've got your barcode scanner to input information in via the barcode. So you've got kind of an integrated solution there. Similarly, the left-hand corner at the bottom, you see there's an iPhone there and an iPod Touch, and Linnea Pro is a company that makes a little sled that sits around an iPhone or an iPad Touch and basically turns them into a scanner. And that scanner is actually very, very well. I've used it and demoed it, and it works really well. So there's a lot of options out. If you got folks in the field that are monitoring and they want to look at reports and things, maybe an iPad is the right device for them. So the point here is that there's a lot of device options out there. You're going to have certain restrictions within your company on which devices you're allowed to use, but if you've got the ability to look around, it's important to find what's the right form factor for your user group. And it really depends on what they're going to be doing in the field while they're mobile, and what's the best way for them to either see their information or input their information, what's going to work for them the best. So, but there's a lot of options out there, and more as the days and months go by, as more and more folks are developing functionality for mobile devices. And so now we move into the why portion of the conversation here, which is why would you want to implement a mobile ITAM solution that seems pretty complex? Well, the ROI for mobile ITAM is very high and very easy to achieve, very quickly achieved, I should say. And really the point is that your IT asset management, the whole point of your IT asset management solution is to really create and maintain an IT asset management repository that's accurate and has up-to-date information and timely information about all of your IT assets. Whatever happens to be important to you and your organization, you store into your CMDB or your IT asset repository. And it depends, you know, the decisions that you make based on that information in that repository are only as good as the quality of the information in there. So it's important that the information is as accurate as it can be and as timely as it can be. And so really the whole point behind Mobile ITAM is improving the accuracy and the trustworthiness of your IT asset management database. And so better data requires more accurate data capture, and that's, you know, a primary driver behind Mobile ITAM is a combination of both automatic data capture, so being able to use things like RFID and barcode scanners to pull information without having a user type it in. That's important. Also being able to provide tools to allow those mobile users to capture information more accurately than they would be able to do without the solution. So, you know, basically pen and paper or keeping things in their head. You know, obviously those are very error prone, and having a tool that allows you to capture information in the field is going to greatly increase the accuracy of your asset management repository. And because workers are mobile, it really makes a lot of sense to incorporate a mobile solution into your IT asset management program. And it's really a key component to it because of the fact that there's so many mobile workers in the picture. And here's some examples of some of the challenges that can be alleviated or, you know, made, you know, challenges that can be solved to some extent with a mobile ITAM solution. The first one being, you know, your inventory runs, you probably perform a physical inventory once a year, maybe twice a year, and at that time, you know, assuming that your inventory, your physical inventory is highly accurate, at the end of your inventory run, let's say you do it once a year, your database is pretty accurate. But through the course of the year, unless you're tracking every transaction, then the quality of your database will degrade over time, you know, to approximately the point of how accurate your data capture procedures are between those inventory runs. And so having a mobile solution allows you to capture more information between the inventory runs so that you can keep that database up to date and accurate as equipment moves in the environment, as equipment is decommissioned, et cetera, et cetera. Those are important things to capture, you know, more than just once a week or more than just during your inventory runs. And with a mobile solution, you're going to be able to do that with a lot more quality, with a lot higher accuracy. And secondly, accurately capturing asset information and avoiding those manual data entry errors. That's important too. You know, even when you've got people capturing information in the field, there's a lot of distractions. It's difficult to ensure the accuracy of the information that's being captured. That's why we tend to use things like barcode scanners, RFID scanners. Another thing that you can do with a pretty smart mobile solution is incorporate validation criteria into your data capture applications on your mobile devices so that you can do as much as you can to protect the data that's getting input into your system and ensure its validity. And then another, you know, another component of asset management are tedious activities or rote processes that you have to perform, such as physical inventory or maybe a mass move operation where you have to move equipment from one building to another, and you might have hundreds of pieces of equipment, and for you to go into each one of those asset records and change the location of the asset and then go to the next one, that can be pretty repetitive and very, very time consuming. And so there are things that can be done with a mobile solutions tool to make that process a lot smoother with automatic processing, where you can just maybe select a location and then scan all the assets in that old location and define the new location, and then have the system itself automatically go and update all of those different asset records. So those are just some examples of ways that you can get even more benefit out of incorporating a mobile solution by making them very, you know, creating applications that are very task specific and that focus on efficiency and accuracy and data capture. And so in terms of business benefits here, you start off with, you equip your mobile users with a mobile solution, and that's going to improve their efficiency, certainly going to improve their efficiency, and it's going to allow them to capture information with a higher level of accuracy, as we discussed. And what this ends up doing is it generates a more accurate repository, and what that will do is that allows your decision makers to make better decisions and create, in general, a more productive environment all around. So that's really, this is the bottom line. This slide, if you take anything away from today's presentation, I'd like you to take this away, that really mobile IT asset management is all about improving the decisions that your IT asset managers make based on improving the quality of information that they're making those decisions against. And then it's always important when you're considering a mobile solution to look at the ROI, or actually when you're looking at any type of infrastructure change or process change, you want to make sure that it's worthwhile for you. So one of the things that I've done quite a bit with our IT asset management customers is I go through a process with them to understand what the ROI is for them. And it tends to be very different based from organization to organization, because everybody's processes are a little bit different, especially when you get into the mobile component of it. But the basic process when you go through ROI is, for a mobile IT asset management solution, is first of all you start off with identifying who those mobile users are, and what is it that they do, what is it that they are doing in their daily job, and then map out new processes. Assume that you're going to put the mobile solution into their hands, and you do have to make some assumptions, and you may talk to your mobile solution vendor to get a better understanding of what those are. But you map out the existing processes, you map out the new processes, you identify the inefficiencies, and then you kind of qualify those improvements as time savings. And time savings can pretty easily be quantified into dollar amounts by running a formula of an hourly charge to a certain time. And if you can save 5 hours a week, what is that going to save you over the course of a year, or over the course of a month? And those advantages and improvements can add up pretty quickly with a mobile asset management solution here, because you are going to improve efficiency in a lot of your processes. And of course, the big thing is the accuracy. And sometimes it's difficult to associate monetizing accuracy improvements. How do you monetize a database that goes from 60% accuracy to 95% accuracy? We know it's important, we know it's critical, and we know we're dependent on it. So the way that I like to look at it, which is somewhat easy for people to get their heads around, is think about what happens when you try to make a decision, or you pull a report and the information in your report only is 60% accurate. So for example, let's say you're putting together a process to go and replace a certain model of Dell laptops, let's say. And so you run a report, and in a particular location you identify that there's 5 of the old Dell laptops in that environment, and so you send somebody out there with 5 replacements, and they go out there to do the replacements, but when they get there, they realize that there's actually 10. So then what do they have to do? They have to go back and they have to get 5 more replacements and go back and do the swaps or the new installs of those new pieces of equipment. So that's an example where, okay, maybe it costs them 2 hours of time to do that, to make that extra trip out there. So those are the types of things that what I like to think about is, what does it cost? That inaccurate information, what does it cost when when it's incorrect, when the information is incorrect and somebody makes a decision based on that information, what does it cost your organization? So once you've gone through that process where you've identified that yes, the mobile solution is important for us, you've gone through the effort of deciding on mobile devices that you need, you've decided on the environment, you've mapped out the processes and determined that the ROI is relevant, useful, important, and you go actually look at how do we implement this thing, you do need to think about mobile devices, as I mentioned. Try to pick a device, and you may have the luxury or the ability to pick different devices for different groups of people that may have different responsibilities, or you may be limited to to a certain device choice or set of devices based on company policy. So you need to investigate those things. That's important. And of course, a big part of it is integrating with your existing environment. So understand what applications and what does your environment look like today, because the solution that you bring into your environment is going to have to interact with the equipment and the applications and the environment that you have today. And then in addition to that, you also want a solution that's going to grow with you. So not only do you want to look at your environment today, for example, you might be using a homegrown IT asset repository, but you know that as your organization grows, you're going to want to buy something in the future that may be a lot more robust, something off the shelf. And so you want to pick a solution that's going to work for you today, but that will also work for you tomorrow. So you need to identify these things and think about these as you map out your path forward with a mobile IT asset management solution. And of course, when we think about what's going to help make a solution successful, you also have to think about components that are important in your environment, such as security, and what are the security requirements in your environment. And one of the things that we stress a lot at Mobile Reach that's very important is your mobile solution is going to help your mobile end users only, obviously, if they use it, right? And so it's really important that a mobile solution, which once you equip your technicians with barcode scanners, then they have to receive using this electronic interface that they may never have done before. And it can be intimidating and it can be difficult. Process change is not always easy. And so really that end user adaptability is important. It's very important that when you create a new set of processes or end user applications on mobile devices, that they are easy to use. Simplicity is really important. I can't stress that enough. And basically just a very good user experience is critical, because again, I mean, you can put a solution into place, but it's only going to work for you if folks actually use it and they use it well. So that's an important component, is usability of the end solution, and of course scalability to allow you to grow into your future needs as well. And we'll talk a little bit about this. How do you make sure that the solution is successful? And I really have 2 points. I really just want to make 2 points here. One is, think about the big picture. So all those considerations that we talked about are important. You think about your environment, you think about the equipment, you think about security. The solution has to fit into all of those, and think about how you need to implement everything. But really, it's important to start small. You bite off a little bit at the beginning, especially if it's something brand new to you. If your users have never used a handheld device to capture asset information from, maybe start off on the receiving dock and just implement a receiving application to see how well it works and to learn from it, so that when you continue with the implementation, you can learn lessons and take that information into the next steps of the process. So I really think that's important. Get the end users involved very early. Bring them into the mix, because they're a really, really important piece of the puzzle, and then make sure that that's successful before you move on to a more complex process. And you'll enjoy greater success in the long haul if you do it that way. And then again, I touched on this earlier, but the people factor is really important. I mean, it's more important than the technology. So, speaking from a technologist here with a technical solution, but really it is all about the people. It's all about how they're going to use the application. It's about the fact that their processes are going to change. They're going to change for the better, but they are going to change, and that's not always easy. So again, what I like to say is build your solution around your processes instead of vice versa. So don't pick a technology just because it's a cool technology. Pick a technology that's really going to work for you in your environment and around your processes, because it's a lot easier to bend the technology than it is to bend people, to kind of force people into using a process that doesn't really work for them. And so that's an important component there. The technology should be helping your solution. It shouldn't be making it more cumbersome or making it more difficult. So that's an important point there. And so in terms of ongoing success, you certainly want a solution that's going to be easy for you to maintain year after year and keep and allow to grow with you, so that you can add to it as the months and the years pass and you get more sophisticated users and maybe more sophisticated technology comes out. So a solution that allows you to be scalable is really important, and that can be well integrated with the rest of your environment. So all these things are important. But in terms of ongoing success, I think maintainability and easy administration is important, as well as scalability are probably the two most important points in terms of ongoing success. So in summary, mobile IT asset management solutions are critical to the success of your overall IT asset management program, because, and the reason for that is because your ITAM workers are very often mobile. So it's very, very important to put tools into their hands that help them do their jobs more effectively. And your solutions will improve. They're going to provide ROI for you. That's critical before you even take the first step and implement it. They're going to improve your efficiency, your worker productivity, and the most important thing is they're going to improve the accuracy of your asset management database. And honestly, the ROI for a mobile solution, I say here that it should happen in less than 1 year. That's typically important for most organizations. Honestly, I've not seen one that's taken longer than 6 months to develop ROI from. So it's really, once you put your head around the processes and the improvements that you're making, you should be able to make a pretty good argument for the implementation of the solution in your environment. So that's all I have today, and my name again is Nasrin Azari. If you're interested in talking further about what we spoke about today, or if you have any questions about what I've talked about today, please do not hesitate to get in touch with me. My email address is nazari, that's Nazari, @mobilereach.com. And then my phone number listed there is 919-386-3578, and I certainly welcome any of your comments or questions, or if you just want to discuss some of these topics, I'm happy to do that. So thank you very much, and thank you, Larry, for having me today.
Well, thank you, Nasrin. Let me stop